Actually, the only reason I came.
So cute.
Poor Maria took ill this afternoon and just didn't want a chance.
Oh, I was gonna say, I thought she was.
She was supposed to come. Amanda was always gonna be out.
Right.
So I called, I wasn't sure if Mike was able to join us or not, so
Right.
made special arrangements to be here. So we didn't have to cancel the meeting.
Hey, you wouldn't have wanted to be here a couple days ago.
The pain meds were,
They had me elsewhere.
have it on streaming, but we're waiting for our.
Don't forget to share your screen sometime.
That one's not. I think that's,
All right, John's here.
oh, yeah, you have to share the screen, there we go. Yeah, the screen. All right, now we should be good. Perfect.
What do you say? I hope you're all right there.
Try that far down.
Well, my arm isn't working, but my mouth is.
Mark, have a good night. Happy holidays.
Are you taped up?
Yes, we're good.
Okay, I would like to call the December 9th, 2021 Development Commission to order. As is our usual practice, we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance facing the.
Flag will be covered up.
Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Okay, case number 1, Z21-081, 6680 Lockbourne Road.
The supplemental packet, there is a revised CPD text dated 12/8/21 that includes updated traffic language. 17.3 acre site consists of 8 undeveloped parcels in the ag manufacturing district. The requested CPD commercial plan development district will permit mixed-use development to be developed in 3 phases. North of the site is an office warehouse building and the Scioto Audubon Metro Park in the ag manufacturing district. South and west of the site is the Scioto Audubon Metro Park in the ag manufacturing district. And east of the site is Railroad Expo. Current CV 19-111 has been filed to permit ground floor residential uses in the CPD commercial plan development district and a parking space reduction for multi-unit residential uses. That request will be heard by City Council and will not be considered as a development issue. The site is within the planning boundaries of the Brewery District Plan, which does not recommend specific land uses, but states that a goal for the site is to develop it in a way that incorporates both recreational amenities and housing. The site is located within the boundaries of the Brewery District Commission, whose recommendation is for approval. The CPD text establishes use restrictions and supplemental development standards that address traffic access, parking requirements, and street trees, and commits to developing the site in phases as demonstrated on the submitted site plan. Additionally, code modifications to maneuvering, parking minimums for outdoor eating and drinking establishments, and for required parking to be located on a different parcel than the use they serve are included within the request. The requested CPD commercial plan development district will permit mixed-use development. The CPD text includes appropriate use restrictions and supplemental development standards. The requested CPD district is consistent with the Brewery District Plan guidelines in creating housing as a permitted use on the Whittier Street Peninsula And staff defers to the Brewery District Commission's decision on design-related matters. A traffic impact study has been completed and monetary contribution is requested of the developer to be implemented towards improving the intersection of West Whittier Street and South Front Street. Additionally, further conversations between the applicant and Metro Parks are needed regarding any access and/or utility easements, along with final approval by the Metro Parks Board. And therefore, City Department's recommendation right now is for a conditional approval.
Okay, is anyone here to speak regarding case number 1? Just you, okay, let's talk about traffic then. Anything troubling there?
As Tim mentioned, a traffic impact study has been approved for this application. The approval letter is in the staff report, and we don't have anything to add. What's in
Okay, Kathy?
We're in support. We've had conversations about some landscaping, making sure there's street trees and some connectivity, bikeway and pedestrian.
And you'll have that all in the, right,
It's already been included.
okay.
They've been very helpful.
Planning.
No further comments.
Okay, you have staff approval, pending the fine tuning of the unfinished business.
Yes, I'm Jeffrey O'Brien, the attorney for the applicant with Smith and Hale.
Daniel Ayers with MBJ Architects.
The supplemental text that you have contains the monetary contribution for a traffic improvement that was requested by Daniel. We have had a series of meetings with the Metro Park staff, including conversations last week. We understand, we have proposed the joint access along Whittier, and we understand we have to go through their process and get their board approval in order to have that. So we will continue those discussions. As staff has indicated, we have been to the Brewery District and got approval on the request, as well as the basic architecture and site plan. We have a presentation that we did to Brewery District. If you want, we can go through that. If you're satisfied with the staff comments, I will let Daniel show the stuff there.
All right, I think you've accomplished your goals, and we appreciate working with the staff and achieving those things. They are important to every case we have. I would like a motion to include the updated text dated 12/8/21 tonight's proceedings.
So moved.
Second. All right, all those in favor?
All right.
Okay, please call roll.
Marty Anderson.
I usually comment that I don't believe there's anything such as conditional approval, but that's what staff has given. Jeff, enlighten me, what authority does Metro Parks have? Could Metro Parks say you didn't do this, you didn't do that?
They are, between the City of Columbus Recreation Department and the Metro Parks, they control the ground to the north and west of our property. If you know, when you get off the Whittier Bridge, they have their service facility, and we've proposed a joint access at that point. But obviously, they have to go through their process, and ultimately, that would be something that would have to be approved by the park board in order to do. We have a secondary access on Meyer Drive, which is a public street. So I think the city just wanted to disclose that in terms of that access and then a utility easement, we would have to get approval from the park board to do those. If we don't get them, we have alternatives, and we can move ahead with the project.
Would you bring those alternatives back to us or not?
No, because they're already shown on the site plan. So the access to Meyer Drive is a public street that comes off of Whittier at the north end of the property that's contiguous to our property.
Can Metro Parks keep you from getting to city council? You'd take one of these.
Well, no, I mean, obviously, we've worked very hard with them and included them from day one, just because they are our nearest property owner. And so we will continue to work with them.
Okay.
But I don't think from a basic use, they have not indicated an objection to me in terms of the use. We had taller buildings at one time, which was an issue with them. The proposal here has lowered all those buildings and reduced the number. So, but we'll work out the details.
Yes.
Plus, it's 4 people for the neighborhood, so you go see the park. So that's a huge plus, I think.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Shannon.
Marie, I was just gonna say that we have filled in with, about the access, that the shared access is subject to the approval by the Metro Parks
Okay.
Board. And that they can be modified as approved by the Division of Traffic Management. So if for some reason that shared access does not happen, there might be some other way that they can get, that they can access the property. And honestly, that's a site compliance item that's not really related to the rezoning of the property.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, please, any other questions,
You
comments?
have to finish the vote, I believe.
Yeah, please call the roll.
Yes.
Mine was a
Okay.
yes.
John Ingwerson.
Yes.
Kay Hamukwe.
Yes.
Chair Fitzpatrick.
Yes, you are approved.
Thank you very much. Have a happy holiday.
Thank you. Okay, case number 2. Z21-081 6680 Lockhorn Road.
Your supplemental packet, there is a revised limitation text dated December 6th, 2021, with revised landscaping commitments. There is also a recommendation from the Far South Columbus Area Commission, and there are several letters of opposition from neighboring property owners and from the mayor of Lockhorn. The 180-acre site consists of one parcel developed with agricultural uses and a cemetery in the R Rural District. The applicant requests the LM Limited Manufacturing District, permitting a limited number of more objectionable uses, less objectionable uses, and office uses at this location. North of the site is agricultural land in the M Manufacturing District and R Rural District within Hamilton Township. South of the site is agricultural land in the R Rural District. East of the site is railroad right-of-way, and west of the site is undeveloped land in the PUD 4 Planned Unit Development District and single-unit dwellings in the R Rural District and Hamilton Township. The site is within the planning boundaries of the South Central Accord, which recommends light industrial and agricultural/open space land uses of this location. The site is also subject to the Columbus Citywide Planning Policies Design Guidelines. The site is located within the boundaries of the Far South Columbus Area Commission, whose recommendation is for disapproval, and as I mentioned, that recommendation is in your supplemental packet. The limitation text establishes use restrictions, including more stringent use restrictions for the northwestern part of the site, and supplemental development standards that address building setbacks, parking setbacks, traffic access and improvements, screening that includes mounting and evergreen trees, preservation of the existing private cemetery, and a commitment to develop the site as demonstrated on the submitted site plan. At the time this staff report was finalized, excuse me. At the time the staff report was finalized, the traffic impact study is in progress, and in conjunction with this application, additional comments or access revisions may be needed based on the results of that approved traffic impact study. Requested LM Limited Manufacturing District will permit limited, more objectionable manufacturing uses, less objectionable manufacturing uses, and commercial office uses. The limitation text includes appropriate use restrictions and development standards. Included in the text is a commitment to develop the site as demonstrated on the submitted site plan. The request is consistent with the South Central Accord's recommendation for light industrial land uses at this location. With the inclusion of mounding and landscaping along Lockhorn Road and the southern property line, and preservation of the existing cemetery, staff supports this request. The city department's recommendation will be updated to approval when an approved traffic study, impact study with necessary commitments added to the limitation text and or reflections on the site plan for the satisfaction of the Division of Traffic Management.
Okay, any questions, comments? Traffic, Dan?
The site is proposing to access State Route 317 through the property to the north. And so there's some involvement of the Ohio Department of Transportation with this traffic study. In response to the previous review, the applicant has proposed conceptually improvements at the access location, which both ODOT and the city conceptually concur with. They'll just need to be incorporated to the final study for us to, review all the details and sign off on that.
All right, and you think that's organized at this point?
Correct.
Right. Kathy, any comments for,
No comments at this time.
and, planning?
The applicant has addressed our comments.
Okay, you're good there. All right, is anyone here to speak regarding this application tonight? One person. Okay, Don, you want to add anything to the staff's presentation?
Yeah, I'd like to explain the traffic issue.
Okay.
First of all, I'm Donald Plank. I'm the attorney for the applicant. With me is Cliff Aiken. He is a representative for the Aiken, for Pinchot Company. To understand exactly what's going on with traffic in our project, I've identified our parcel down here. This parcel 2 is the property we're seeking to be rezoned. Parcel 1 is being developed currently in the M district by my client, the same client. We're taking all our access up through that site and into, onto 317. As a part of those commitments, we're putting the traffic light in at that section at all our costs. We're doing the entire traffic light. So the issue with traffic was not so much the improvements, but how long those turn lanes would be. And because we got into about 10 feet into ODOT's territory, ODOT then had the opportunity to review the traffic study. I think they were a little slow on getting back to you. We finally reached out to them, and I think they reached back to you as late as yesterday. And we're making some also traffic improvements on this site to accommodate that. So that's the traffic, and we don't consider it an issue. We believe there's no pushback from us that we're not going to do that.
Okay.
And then all I would point out is, as our site that we're being developed here, this area here is called the restricted area. That's the light manufacturing area. As we get over to the railroad tracks and get off to the site, we include some of the more objectionable uses, but they're very limited. And then what we've done in terms of landscaping, we've got a 6-foot mound going down 675 feet, but the trees go down 1,250 feet. Across here, where we have not as much landscaping, but a 50-foot setback, I think there may be 1 or 2 houses in this area. And then down here, we've got a tree farm, and we've agreed to mount a landscape over there as well.
Okay.
And we're taking care of the cemetery as well.
All right, let's have our speaker, and then we may need you back at the microphone for questions. No, please come up to the microphone. Give us your name for the record and tell us what's on.
My name is Yvonne Blauvelt. I live at 7003 Lockhorn Road, which is from, my husband will show you. The corner? Well, the corner up there, so where our property.
Our property begins here and ends.
So we have the largest impact.
You run all along that angle.
That whole side where he said there are only 2 houses, well, we own 7 acres. And then we could at some time subdivide. And because there are only 2 houses, there is nothing indicated there except a maybe 3-foot mound. Also, if you look, I urge you please to read my son's, which I think you got in your packets, from Jonathan A. Blauvelt. He did quite a lot of research on this, and one thing he discovered, I discovered, if you look at the South Central Accord, they're saying right where those retention ponds are that would be facing us, the Accord calls for 250 feet of setback. That is nowhere near the setback. As for the cemetery, I would argue that it does not belong to the Peters. We moved there 44 years ago. It was 44 years in July. At that time, the township, Hamilton Township, was maintaining the cemetery. They would stop and park along the road and go in and mow it. Every summer it was mowed about once a month. And that occurred up until it was annexed into Columbus. According to the Ohio Revised Code, as it says in my son's submitment, cemeteries cannot be owned by individuals. Hamilton Township was maintaining the cemetery. Hamilton Township was permitted to own or say that it owned that property. And it did so. It was the only maintenance in that cemetery for 44 years. Well, until it was annexed by Columbus. At that time, Columbus should have taken over the maintenance. Columbus can own it. The Peters Farm does not own that cemetery. Furthermore, that cemetery is of historic significance. In it is buried the person who built our house. Our house, which is one of the two houses, is over 200 years old, making it one of the oldest houses in Franklin County. Part of it was built about 1810. They added on maybe 30 years later. In fact, our property was part of the land grant that this lot belongs to. We bought our property from the Peters. We are along the Big Walnut, as you can see. We have mostly woods, as their one picture showed. My son has trail cameras. We have river otters, beavers, bobcats, mink, a 10-point buck at the moment. Anything that is available in Ohio is on our property. Our son also talks about the damage that this construction would do to the water. In the 44 years we've lived there, the Big Walnut rises higher and higher with every rain. He has directed your attention to the amounts up the river, up Walnut Creek a small bit, where Columbus has a park. They say that the drainage from those retention ponds would go, if they would drain normally. Well, our land slants down from theirs. So if normal means they are going to run their outlets into our property, it will go right into the Big Walnut and further pollute the stream. Also, my son refers to the fact that none of the wells in the area are very deep. Columbus, in fact, gets water from this area. And they are talking about, we were told that a prospect for this property is a paper manufacturer. No?
It's prohibited. It's in the text as a prohibited use.
Okay. It was some kind of paper something. And I looked it up, and there is one company looking for space in, and this is like exactly what they're looking for. A company, it's Saica, S-A-I-K-C-A, out of Spain. But whatever it is, they have covered up there, as you can see, 75, 80% of that acreage. And that is nowhere near the EPA standard. Furthermore, there's a wetland across the field from us, which they have indicated there would be clear cut and built upon. And there is no area on there that becomes the wetland when they remove that. And I believe that is a requirement. I know that I am very biased against this, but Columbus has not been a good, we and our neighbor to the north are the only Hamilton Township. We are bounded on the north by Columbus. That is Columbus. The south of us has been bought by the city of Columbus as a preserve. Across the river is Columbus. I have a gravel company across the creek from me. They operated 24 hours a day for years. Does anyone have any questions? Did you, sir, in the middle, Mr. Deacon? Did you have a question?
Do I have a question?
Okay, let's call the applicant back and hear some of these questions. First question is the cemetery.
Yeah, we're very confident that our title report and the title insurance, that we do own the property. Obviously, our preference would be that there wouldn't be a cemetery there, but it's there and we'll deal with it. In fact, in our commitments, what we've done is we've actually committed to graveling the existing drive that goes into the site, providing 2 parking spaces, which are not available now. And that's then footpath to the cemetery. So people can actually visit the cemetery if that's it for them.
Let me ask a mathematical question. What is this distance right here?
That's it.
This corner?
I know, on building D up there, the building setback's 100 feet. So if you're looking at building C, I would say it's in excess of 200 feet to that building, maybe 3 to 4.
So what I'm holding my pen on is what distance?
300 feet, maybe more.
This corner to this
Yes.
road. This one here is
120.
how tall is this building?
That building, probably be about 40 feet. However, our property flows from west to east. So all of our property flows towards the rail. So that's actually a cut site up there. So that building actually will be lower than the street by about 10 to 15 feet.
The slab level?
Yeah. In fact, I've got the cut. The orange is where it's cut. The blue is where it gets added. According to this, we're about 24, with the 6 foot mound, we're about 24 feet below the mound at the level of the docks.
All right. And you seem to have 2, 4, you have 6 retention basins on the site.
Correct.
They're holding a lot of water. Do you have a civil engineer that's calculated the areas?
Yes,
Depth?
yes, we do. It's Steve Brown. Again, all of our land falls to the east, so those detention plans, or ponds, I'm sorry, are all master planned to flow into each other and flow off to the site to the east.
All right, and in case our speaker doesn't know, Steve Brown is the civil engineer. His stamp is on the drawings. He has to take care of all existing water flows that come at you from off-site, your rated runoff, hold it in these retention basins according to a formula dictated by the county engineer, or you can't get a building permit. And if you build it and you don't build it to the letter of those specifications, you can't get an occupancy. That's just a fact. So you cross those.
Absolutely. Also, I mean, that, you know, we have a wetland study. There is a wetland on the site. We're not touching the wetland.
All right, where's the wetland? That's fine. We're all saying.
There's a stream over here. Lines or a stream protection corridor. Protection zone, so we're not touching that. Wetland is up in this area. It's the only wetland on the site. We have a wetland shed.
All right, that also is highly regulated and checked, and anybody that runs afoul of that issue runs into a hornet's nest. Okay,
One other thing.
Yes.
There's a major subterranean trunk line, sewer trunk line that runs right through this property. And right about where the cemetery parking is a manhole. I think we're using that, we'll be, and that's kind of designed for handling this piece as it is the whole Rickenbacker area. And when I say it's large, you can drive trucks through this truck line. So it was, the trunk line's intended to designed to take this and the property we've got to.
which is normal engineering
Which is normal.
practice. All right, now, last question from me, and then there may be other questions. The 2 homes that our speaker is concerned with are pretty much where the words Lockbourne Road are on this drawing. Is that correct?
This house is probably here, perhaps.
All right, and there are no driveways that go across that area?
We're taking no access on lot one.
All right. I would recommend a little bit more of a visual screen in the area of the homes alone, other than just a mound. and open.
One of the problems we have at one of the houses, that's the entrance to the cemetery too. And so, and it's also the location of the manhole. So there is an area there where we can't mount, and that's unfortunately right across one of the houses.
Well, I would say either side of that opening, at least of those things, would be a place to just be more effective with the green space than a patch of grass would be.
And again, at that location, we're still about 18 feet below grade, below the level of Lockmore Road. So we're still moving it down, but yeah, I understand.
Your ground level is 18 feet lower?
There's
I thought he said eight.
18 feet at this location, lower than the elevation of the road.
Your slab level is 18 feet lower than the road.
Yes,
Okay, so that.
and with
The
3-foot
corner
mountain.
of the building sticks up 12 feet roughly. All right, I still think some enhanced landscaping would make it effective just in a short area there. So that,
We've been very happy to accommodate in the meetings we've had to date. You know, we've accommodated everybody as far as landscaping, the evergreen trees we'll put on there to the extent we can do it, we will. Again, we can't do it in front of the cemetery. We can't touch that sewer access.
no, I understand that, but there's other vistas that would soften the effect of the industrial use.
We're happy to do that.
It's a distinctively different intensity of use, and a little soft touch would go away. Now, you have a question?
What manhole are you talking about?
There's a manhole.
That's way up the road. It's nowhere, you're saying it's near the cemetery, the manhole. It's over up here. Not near the cemetery. Or are you talking about the pipe underneath the road? Talking about the pipe underneath the road.
That's talking culvert, it's talking sanitary. There's a manhole.
But it's not by the cemetery.
It's north of the neighbor's house.
Pardon me?
We will do additional landscaping.
Okay. All right. Anyone else have any comments here on the commission? John?
I'm concerned about anything that permits more objectionable manufacturing uses. And I understand the difference between, one area, but, it's almost an oxymoron to sit here and read that, with the area commission's strong disapproval, whether we think a mayor of a small, village-like area should have some sway. I think we have to respect her. And using the LM limited manufacturing district that does permit any more objectionable manufacturing uses, I don't know how staff determines that those uses aren't going to be the ones that indeed, will end up being built, not necessarily by this applicant, but by, of course, someone in the future. So,
Yeah, if I might explain, when we start looking at a limitation test, especially in the manufacturing district, we're dealing with uses in the more objectionable uses that were established 50 years ago. So a lot of the use have evolved into something that's much more less objectionable than they are today. And so what we've done is we've taken out from those objectionable uses items that would require manufacturing instead of just compounding and assembly, and have taken out all what we would see as truly industrial manufacturing uses out of that list of more objectionable. But the problem you have is that oftentimes in these warehouses, things are assembled that now violate the more objectionable uses. And we've been very careful about that, even to the north, the property we're currently developing. It's zoned M manufacturing, which would allow everything. But we're doing less objectionable uses. But that's the nature of what we're dealing with the Columbus City Code. The Lockbourne, the mayor of Lockbourne opposed us or objected to us because of the paper mill. I don't know where they came up that we were building a paper mill. So what I did was specifically put in our limitation text that we can't put in a paper mill. And that was the key to her objection. And talking to the area commission, when I asked, how do I explain to my client your recommendation of disapproval? And their response was, you did everything we asked. You explained it at the meeting, but you handed me at the meeting the changes to the zoning text and your new site plan. Had you sent those to me sooner, it might have been a different vote. But we had addressed everything that they had asked, and most of that was cemetery, mounding. They didn't want any deciduous trees on the mound. We went with evergreens. We did everything that they had asked. There is, people don't want us there because of what they've seen for the last 50 years, but this is the area plan calls for it to be industrial, and we believe the limitations that we put on the more objectionable uses are in fact less objectionable, and I think we'll see that when the code finally gets changed.
Let me ask a question. On the bottom of page 1, item 4, under B as in boy, you list furniture, paper, and paperboard for paper machine as a permitted use. That may be where people are interpreting a much more.
But then when we talk about the prohibited uses, I think we say millwork, and millwork would be the paper mill. Because it's all under wood products. So under wood products, you do have paper. We do not have, our buildings are all separate. We don't have any particular tenant on these.
I have to, where we heard paper manufacturing was from an attorney from his office, was at the zoning meetings I was at, and she said, paper manufacturing. And you weren't at the meetings.
Well,
Your attorney said, your associate said, what are the uses? Could be.
That's what number 4 would imply. Number 4 and number 7 under, prohibited uses, under B7 seem to be contradictory, or at least they're potentially contradictory. I could certainly argue it.
Yeah, but the inclusion of the word paper products is lying in the face of paper mill, so it's a very fine line.
well, we can take out the word manufacturing, but that relates to paper. But we can assemble paper and we can store paper. I'll take out the word manufacturing.
Don, you have, in the permitted uses under 2 on page 1, wallboard, which, what, gypsum wallboard? Or what is that?
Say that again, we're sorry.
On number 4, it starts out furniture, paper, and paperboard from paper machine only, which I'm not really certain I understand what that is, but then wallboard,
Again, this is taken right out of the.
right out of the code.
Yeah. No one's going to be manufacturing wallboard in this location. And see, and again, I'm trying to use the code as it exists today so that I'm not making up uses.
That
And that's the
there.
difficulty that we have.
I don't see abattoir anywhere here, but.
We can agree not to manufacture wallboard.
And there's a difference between, I don't know, the zoning code between paper mill, which actually takes, makes wood pulp and processes it into fiber and whatever, which is what these people obviously have seen before in Chillicothe and.
Mead paper plant.
Yeah, the Mead paper plant, which, but I don't understand paperboard from a paper machine only in any term of art.
I think that distinction is extremely important, because when I first read the objections earlier this week, I was reading in the Mead paper plant as how it would smell in the area of a paper mill, if a paper mill came here.
And at our meetings, I told them there was no paper mill, and then I followed that up with just strictly prohibiting.
All right, so it would be safe to say you could take all the uses in number 4 and say they will not happen.
You mean that it's permitted?
Yes.
Well, I mean, furniture manufacturer isn't bad. I don't see that as.
That's not bad, but
Well, you know, we can take out,
paperboard
we
and
can take
wallboard.
out, as it relates to that, take out manufacturing and just still allow though, processing and packaging. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, yeah, that's-
Item 2B, to strike the word manufacturing, that would still allow us to assemble.
right. I don't think there's any obnoxious connections with that.
and you understand, we're still under the general obligation not to be noxious, noise, light, and that's still contained in all this.
Right, right.
And understand also, they are developing the property to the north. They've got a major investment in this. They're not going to put something down in that location that impacts their investment. Now, that said, I'm willing to basically codify that in this text by taking out manufacturing of those products, but still allowing the compounding, assembly, and storage. And I can work with staff on that kind of thing. I think the understanding is there are those more objectionable uses that with the right language are less objectionable, and we'd like to work through that.
All right, I think that explains it. Yes, sir.
I talked to Mike Walker yesterday. He's large enough.
Out there.
Here.
Yes, okay. Anyway, one of the major things the state had was warehouses, more warehouses. We've got warehouses all Hamilton Road that aren't being used, and now they're building more warehouses. That was the big opposition that this ordinance had. So I just wanted to add that. Because that was mentioned.
And just for your edification on warehousing, anything that was built 20 years ago doesn't have a sprinkler system that allows you to stack anything over 12 feet high. And so in today's supply chain issues, you have to do high bay storage, and it's cheaper to build a new warehouse with the appropriate fast response sprinkler system, ESFR, than it is to,
Well, all the warehouses.
Then do you-
I mean,
okay. But again, that's investing in one's property, and those are appropriate and rather benign uses for a manufacturing area.
And this is an intermodal area with Britain.
Yeah.
All right, I think we've got, does anyone else have any questions or comments regarding the components of this?
It has nothing to do with the use appropriateness. Question, you said the cemetery is not yours.
Sorry,
The cemetery says yours.
the cemetery it comes with the land, yes.
Okay, just out of curiosity, who's gonna be maintaining
You know, if you're in a township and you have a cemetery, the townships are obligated to maintain cemeteries. Once, and we, you know, we've done the study on this. I mean, we've done the archaeological study. In the archaeological study, I mean, the first person buried there was in 1812 and the last one was 1856. There's evidence that it hasn't been maintained for quite some time. We have located the boundaries of that cemetery, and so that's the purpose of we're comfortable where we keep our area that's going to be open but you know, we will maintain it unless there's a cemetery association. I mean, this isn't the first cemetery I've had to deal with on property like this. Sometimes a cemetery association will step up and agree to maintain it or don't want to maintain it. But in the meantime, we will maintain it.
Okay, is this a updated text? Yeah.
In the supplemental packet.
Okay, that's-
And I just wanted to add, if Kelsey, go to the zoning map again. On the other side of the railroad tracks is residential zoning. So if there is a more objectionable use proposed, they would have to get a permit, not a special permit, but they'd have to get a variance from the Board of Zoning Adjustment to be able to establish that because it's less than 600 feet in that residential living district. So just if that gives you any comfort level with the limitation text as it is written, they just can't go ahead and establish. I think that the uses are there just in case those types of uses come about, but we do have the provision for a 600-foot separation from residential.
Okay, I would like to, get a motion to,
Chair, did you, I don't remember if there was a escaping, you,
they did agree to add additional landscape.
type quantity and
But that's good. I need a motion to approve the 12/6/21 updated text. Number two, I need a motion to define the landscaping that would not interfere with the existing access to the cemetery or the manhole, but that would help screen the proximity of the 12-foot above grade portion of the warehouse closest to the Block 1 location.
And then we need to have one to strike the word manufacturer.
Yes, the word manufacturer on item 2B, paragraph B, boy. Word manufacturing is to be stricken. Any other points? Yes? Okay, I need a motion for those 3 points to be listed on the motion.
So moved.
Second? All those in favor? Aye. Okay, please call the roll.
John Ingwerson,
Yes, and I would say, work carefully with these folks around the entry to the cemetery. I think that could be a nice thing.
Pam Oglek,
Yes.
Marty Anderson,
No.
Chair Fitzpatrick.
Yes. Okay, you are approved. Thank you. All right. Okay, I would like to call for an adjournment. All those in favor? Okay, yes, sir.
Yes, sorry, after, well, the, Mark Hampton, who's fire chief for Hamilton Township, at the last meeting, he opposed this because they're the closest partner was about the city of Columbus. It's going to cost it. Anything to help cover, hate to have a local fire person get.
You know, we don't really get into those kind of good neighbor relationships, but they're certainly available. And
Yes, they did.
I think there are officials with the city that can put you at ease for that.
Our revised code saying that the Peters can own the cemetery, it's just being formed.
That code section. I can't answer you because I
The zoning
haven't
code
read.
doesn't address the ownership of cemeteries.
Stresses the ownership of a cemetery.
Not the Columbus zoning code, though. We can't, if it's, they have to follow Ohio revised code
Right, so
regardless. So it's not an issue of the zoning of the property. It's, they can rezone the cemetery can be
zone the
rezoned.
cemetery to industrial.
Yeah, you can,
Would they can dig it up?
no, they can't. They have a commitment in their tax that they're preserving it.
Because the man at the last meeting that he was not at, that attorney didn't attend any of the meetings. There are 84 graves there. The last person was interred in 1913, not the 1800s.
Yeah,
That would be my local, they got cemetery.
Oh, okay.
I think
stick around for the farm.
well, they have to follow the Ohio
So you
revised
look
code.
for it to be rezoned.
Every